half of them, 50, predicted that Oklahoma City would win the NBA Finals, the NBA Championship. 25.3% predicted the San Antonio Spurs would get the Larry O'Brien Trophy. 8.2% predicted the Boston Celtics would win the Larry O'Brien Trophy. 7.5% predicted the Denver Nuggets would win the NBA. 4.1% said Detroit. And then The Athletic followed up with a couple of notes, and one of them was Detroit got dissed. They write, okay, dissed may be a too strong a word. Only by a bit, though. The Pistons have been the Eastern Conference's best team by record for the majority of the season. They finished the regular season 60-22 and secured home court throughout the Eastern Conference playoffs. There's a lot to like about the Pistons, including Cade Cunningham, tough maximum effort persona of the Pistons as a whole. One player who voted for the Pistons said, quote, tough team out of the East. Not an easy team to beat. They play physical as hell. They dictate the physicality of the game, and if you don't go in there and play physical with them, they will beat you. They will beat the blank out of you. Still, despite the respect the Pistons earned, the Celtics led all East teams in the vote, finishing with 8.2%.
So they count out the Detroit Pistons like the Pistons don't exist. They treat them like that Atlanta Hawks team who had the number 1 seed. Jeff Teague, Atlanta Hawks, Michigan native Al Horford, Atlanta native Jay Smooth, Josh Smith. Like, we just a walkover. Oh, Boston's back healthy with Jason Tatum. Oh, the Knicks, the Hawks, they might get eliminated in the first round. And once again, the Pistons got to earn it the hard way. Isaiah and them had to earn it the hard way. They had to earn it the hard way. The Pistons, and they got to take their respect. They got to take their respect. You don't really hear them talking about Houston. They don't talk about them in a championship vein either, but you hear them talking about Houston having the same record they had last year with KD. Now they can attribute that not having Fred VanVleet after making that trade. But, if we all be in the B, had Kevin Durant came to Detroit, probably had 70 wins. Let's keep it real. We probably had 70 wins. We would be the favorite to win the NBA championship. If you add, they could talk about Ime Udoka. They could talk about Alperen Sengun. I like him. But if you put Kevin Durant right in this lineup and you take Duncan Robinson, you put Durant in that lineup, Durant is about to get another championship, in my opinion. And realistically, too, you take Nickeil Alexander-Walker, he chooses to come to Detroit over Karis LeVert. They get Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Detroit is probably going to be, the way Walker playing, Detroit would be the favorites to come out the East. But to them, they don't have that next guy. And realistically, we've been saying it all year, but, when Cade went down, something magical happened. Herter found his rhythm. Karis LeVert started to find his rhythm. Dennis Jenkins, he had his fun with his money, which we all would. He got a real NBA contract. So, of course, he deserved to go fuck some hoes and take care of his mother and his father and his family. Absolutely, I had no issue with it. I wasn't on the kill. Everybody want to just go so far right, so far left. The NBA missed 82 games. It's like us going to work every day, or us, following our passions. It's going to be good days. It's going to be bad days. He got back on track. Now he has to step into the role of this TV sitcom known as Dennis Schroeder from last year. And then you kind of think about it, Malik Beasley didn't give you much last year, but guess what? Now you hoping that, Karis LeVert or Kevin Herter can do what he didn't do. You hoping that Duncan Robinson can be a step up. You know what I'm saying? You hoping that Duncan Robinson can be a step up from give me 1 second. But you hoping that Duncan Robinson, I'm sorry, y'all. Give me 1 second. But you hoping that Duncan Robinson can be a step up from Tim Hardaway Jr. or do what he did, last year. Those are all the things that you're hoping to have happen. That from last year, you hoping you get a healthy Isaiah Stewart coming in here. You hoping that Jalen Duren stay out of foul trouble in that experience he got last year. But at the end of the day, when you see, the Thunder defending champions, you see the Spurs with Wemby, you see, and that's the only team that really, I felt like that was really like, they was like a noticeably better than us. You see the Knicks with Jalen Brunson and Cat, and Jason Tatum coming back with Jaylen Brown, they go off names. It's not about how good the team play together. People don't, mention, people say, oh, the Pistons are tough. And they never mention how defensively they lock in. And obviously the NBA and the NFL as well is try to take out defense from sports. They think, putting these fillers and making the referees call fouls. What they really want to do is intimidate players from playing defense. They think fans want to see 120, 130. And fans do, but in a competitive nature, because I did a video on my main channel, which I haven't released it yet, about the NBA. People say, well, this is the fastest pace. This era, they moving too fast. And I've done, historical, you can go do historical references on Basketball Reference. That's not true. In the 70s, they play at a higher rate, a higher pace. In the 80s, they play at a higher pace. They score just as many points without shooting a three-pointer, without a three-pointer line. So the whole narrative that they played at a higher pace, or it's false. They say a lot of lies. When the game was played the right way, it was considered a defensive era in the 80s and the 70s. They scored 109, 110, the highest scoring basketball game in history was with the Pistons and the Nuggets in the 80s. And that's one thing, and I say this kind of as a side note, I don't really understand about black culture. Whether it was, however you want to, deem it, one of the hip hop culture right now, is that how we don't pay homage and we don't respect the history, or we don't know history. We don't respect the history of the greats before us. If it's LeBron or Michael, you got to tear down Michael. It was Ali and Tyson. You had to tear down Tyson or Ali. No, we can celebrate everything, but you can't reinvent the wheel. They did what they did, and you can't tell lies about it, but. They count the Pistons out. It don't surprise me. They don't have, the NBA wants names. And I feel like the Pacers would have won the finals last year had Hollenberg not got hurt. They was going to win that game. You could tell. They try to say Wemby. No, this is no knock. I like Wemby. I like when we play Wemby. And I like when we play Wemby and we beat him up and he didn't cry and complain. But they want to make Wemby the face of the league. They trying to get a push behind Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and they trying to really make it an international league so they can internationally open up a team internationally, or they have a team internationally somewhere. They just, greed is a motherfucker, bro. Excuse my language. The NFL is too greedy. The NBA is too greedy. Greed will lead to your demise. It's one thing to be prematurely satisfied with what you got. And some people may just be happy making 50, 60, 70, 80, 100K, whatever you're making in life. That's cool. Some people don't want all that extravagant shit, but it's a point to say, when is it enough? When is the profits enough? These dudes got all this money. When is it enough? And the NBA and the NFL is going off the edge extremely, chasing money. You trying to force us, the game international, making the game softer, making the game more international friendly, and ain't nobody buying it. Ain't nobody, no offense, nobody buying Wemby as the face of the NBA. Tell me I'm wrong. Nobody's buying, SGA as the face of the NBA. It's an American sport. No matter how much y'all try, short of it being somebody like Yao Ming, it's going to be hard to do. But hey, hit the link in the description. Find me on X, Facebook, Kick. Wherever I'm at, check out Detroit Pistons Talk playlist. Love to hear your comment section. Thumbs up the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Peace.